Oh, yes. Okay, now I'm remembering what I'm going to talk about here. So this next segment, I kind of started already when we did our Qigong, but I wanted to start it off by asking you questions so I can see you all here and raise your hand, or I'll just ask you, do you love your Qigong practice? Yes, you're raising your hand. All right, that's good to know. And do you already smile when you do your Qigong? Yes. Everybody's hand, okay, that's great. So the reason I wanted to just explain a little bit more why that helps and why it makes your Qigong exercise actually more effective when you smile. Um, but I want to ask you another question. Do you think too much? Raise your hand if you think too much, or if you think too much. Okay, a little bit. Okay, so not as much on that one. Well, I make it that it's one of the reasons I do Qigong, because I consider it really synonymous with meditation. And so when I begin my practice, I'm really consciously thinking about, okay, quiet the thoughts, connect with my body. And I found just recently too, and going on this theme of the metal element of joy in your practice is how can you make your practice more enjoyable? And smiling is really a great way to do that because what it does is it connects you with your body and it makes you appreciate the actual feelings that you're having. And that's really the way to master the form is by connecting with your feeling and trusting your naturalness. And that's again, it's a phrase I've read. I can't remember exactly who I read it from, but I think it's more a compiled book of ancient Taoist masters. But there's a concept called returning to naturalness. And I have a little poem here from Zhu, I believe is how you pronounce it, but he's a Taoist philosopher. So I'm going to share that in a moment. But the thing that really exemplifies this the most for me is just watching animals. And I emailed you last time about watching my cats stretch and just how that always makes me smile. And that's kind of a theme in my practice now, is I just kind of think about animals or my cat stretching and how they reach out their paws and just like sink in. And if they could smile, I'm sure they'd be in a big smile. But the point is they're not thinking about it. They're not practicing a form. They're not learning from their sifu or their master about how to do the dog downward dog or the whatever the cat downward cat form is called. They're just really following nature. And it's the same way as we've done in the transforming your limiting beliefs. It happens physically and spiritually, that when you're sift through all the junk of the negative beliefs, you get to your true self. And in the physical practice, it's the same way. When you let go of thinking about the form and you let go about really trying to direct your breathing or direct your movement, you just sink in and you're feeling your body and you're experiencing what's really natural. And so that's the best way I can really convey that principle, is encouraging you to return to naturalness and listen to your body and just move more freely as much as you can. And of course, there's that piece where the forms are very helpful in learning, but then eventually you want to let them go more and more while you're actually practicing. You want to forget about them. And I think I'll leave it to Shuang Zhu. And I know I do a terrible job pronouncing that, but I got this quote. As you know already, I love James Redfield and the Celestine Prophecy and a whole series he does. And I already read through all of those again over the last 3 months. And so I was looking for another one. And I found another book by James Redfield called God and the Evolving Universe. And he co-authored it with Mike Murphy, I think is his name, and then another author, I can't recall. But it's really fascinating. And it talks about evolution primarily, for as far as I'm in it so far. And really the unique thing I think that it's getting at is that we've evolved to some degree over the billions and billions of years, but now humanity, especially, we can improve different capacities in our being consciously. So it's just, I mean, you could call it conscious evolution, but we can do those things morally speaking. We can do it even our eyesight. I mean, we can help improve our eyesight through exercise and through meditation, but build our we can continue our evolution by ourselves instead of just leaving it up to nature or the universe. um, so that was just an interesting point from that book and why I'm enjoying it. But the poem, um, or I don't know if it's a poem, but this is from the Zhuangzi, and I think it pertains a lot to the smiling, and I'll explain why. So he says, easy is right. The right way to go easy is to forget the right way, and forget that the going is easy. So it's kind of confusing at first, and I've got to keep rereading it. But again, it's easy is right. The right way to go easy is to forget the right way, and forget that the going is easy. And so I just kind of break it down a little bit. And I think in saying easy is right, he's speaking to going with what feels good, like what I was talking about. And when he says the right way to go easy is to forget the right way, I think that's where he's speaking more to the other side of it, where release the form, just let go of the form, for release the dogma or whatever it is. But then in the last line, it gets more confusing. And he says, and forget that the going is easy. So to me, what he's trying to do is just make the duality disappear, basically, between both of those. That really we do have to eventually embrace them both. We have to embrace the form. We have to embrace our feeling and our senses and just the experience. But then also he emphasizes forgetting. And that's something I've read a lot about Zen meditation, about sitting and forgetting, and then ultimately just like forgetting both of them and just immersing in the experience is, again, I think, a good way to describe that concept of returning to naturalness. And it reminded me of one of my favorite phrases playing athletics growing up as a kid that would always boost my confidence the most when a coach or my dad or someone else would say, "You're a natural." That phrase was just like, "You're a natural." That would always be the biggest confidence booster for me. And to me, it really applies in Qigong and in meditation and in all of this, is that we are all a natural. Like all of our true self, our true being, we're meant to feel vitality. We're meant to be inspired. We're meant to have that connection with our purpose. And like we were talking about earlier, for whatever reason, it takes a little bit of work to do it. But fortunately, if we can really utilize the metal element principles, then we can fulfill that work and have it be joyful and enthusiastic. So that's, I think, really the art of the metal element form and the metal element. So just remember that you are a natural. Do you believe you're a natural? Yes. All right. Awesome. So if you're coming in without having listened to the first part of this, you can subscribe and I'll send you all the worksheets and give you the information to attend the next sync. Just go to sync.adamholtey.com and you'll get all the info.